The 7 Mile property is a perfect example of a development that produces both opportunities and challenges. Many people in our community have very pointed opinions about the acquisition of the 7 Mile property that the township owns, as well as the development on the corner. The fact of the matter is at this point in time, that property is now owned by the township. Right, wrong, or indifferent, something that's important is that the people, the residents, voted to acquire it. That's democracy at its best level. There's no sense in complaining or criticizing whether we have it or should have it or don't have it or what to do with it. The fact of the matter is we now have both a challenge and an opportunity to do something with it. So our goals and I hope to use my experience and expertise when elected as the supervisor, to work with the board to develop ways to use that to the ultimate advantage of the residents. And we have to look at that as a long-term project. Now, everybody says that, they want to see an immediate result, but the fact of the matter is it's such a large parcel, it has a lot of complications, and it has a lot of challenges, and it's going to take time to work through all of those. The first things we need to do, obviously, is we need to clean it up. Hopefully, the development by the developer at the corner of 7 Mile will produce tax revenue that we can capture to take that first phase that's required the first phase to eliminate the buildings, do the demolition, clean up the property. Then we need to get dollars. How do we get dollars? We get dollars by grants. We get dollars by federal, state grants. One of the things that you need for that, and people really need to understand, is you can't do that without a plan. You had this Green Ribbon Committee, which was a committee with a lot of people, put a lot of time and effort in. We spent a lot of time hiring consultants to give us a long-term plan. Not only was it a long-term plan, but it was a plan that had components so that we could focus on them on a phase-by-phase basis. The most important thing that we need to do once the property is ready to be developed is to circle back again with residents to determine the level of priority based on whatever we can raise in terms of funding, not only to build things, but to maintain them. One of the hallmarks of my goals as a supervisor is we use the phrase transparency in government. Everybody's using the phrase, but nobody really knows what it means. I'll tell you what it means. It means bringing in and consulting the residents to make good decisions. One of my campaign goals was to say, we want to make decisions on the basis of what is best in the best interest of the community. That means we have to consult people. Unfortunately, we know that there's always a minority that is vocal. The challenge for both the supervisor and the board of trustees, many of whom I think you're going to have an opportunity to elect some very good ones, is for those trustees to represent common sense, represent leadership, and consult, if they have to those that are the non-vocals resident group, because that group should be represented as well as the vocal group. But the most important thing for both the board and your supervisor is to play a leadership role in making those decisions and making it transparent so the residents are not just consulted by saying, oh, we post a notice. When things are really this critical, we need to be proactive in contacting our residents, even if it's simply something as simple as sending out notices, which I would do to all of the presidents of all the associations. There's many of them. We have over 40 homeowners associations. Those people ought to know what's going on. One of my approaches will be for this transparency of government is to make sure that they're contacted when we have important matters that confront the township. Now, in addition, you could say, well, real estate is one thing, but that's not the only challenge before the township. So as we look at those challenges, they do include things that we know we have reserves, but we're eating up those reserves in certain areas. Public safety and fire and police and fire, some of them are part of legacy costs, some of them are not. Some of them relate to other matters. We have other costs and expenses that we're going to have to that we're incurring. So we need to actually continue to budget very, very carefully. We need to make sure that we maximize every dollar that we have to spend. We have to be very careful. We have to set priorities. we've got to look at our budgeting process, and while it's been done fairly well by the trustees that you have already elected, I have looked at those and noticed that we do have challenges ahead, and our budgeting process is going to be critical, and I'm going to tell you why. I've also looked at the report for your bond rating. While the bond rating is a AA, the fact of the matter is that the bond raters, the Standard & Poor's and other rating agencies, are looking at your budgeting process, and they're looking at what you're doing to do cost cutting and to preserve revenues. So it comes back again to it's also a very important function to see how you spend things, what you spend them on, and that is going to help us to develop a budget on a going forward basis that will help us improve our bond rating.